Factsverse presents 8 Things You Didn't Know About Everyday Objects. Number 1. Loops on back of shopping cart. Most people look at the back of a child seat in a shopping cart and think it's just that, the back of the child seat. What you may have never realized is that the loops are actually there for you to hang your grocery bags on. This gives you extra space in the cart, and you can hang your bags that contain chips, bread, and anything else that can be damaged under the weight of the other bags. Number 2. Dimple in a wine bottle. The name of the dimple on the bottom of a wine bottle is actually called a punt. Many people believe that this dimple is there so that you can put your thumb inside it to make pouring easier. While that is one purpose, it's actually a remnant from the era when wine bottles were free-blown using a blowpipe. The best method of getting the bottle to stand up is to push the bottom of the bottle inside. The punt also comes in handy when there's a sparkling liquid inside, such as champagne. The dimple helps to equalize and distribute the pressure from the bubbles. Without the punt, a bottle containing sparkling liquid would explode. Number 3. Tiny hole on a padlock. Most padlocks have a round hole next to the actual keyhole. The major purpose of this hole is to pour oil in to lubricate the mechanism if it gets stuck. The hole also acts as a drain. If water or debris fills up inside of the lock, it can drain out of the tiny hole. This will prevent the mechanisms on the inside from becoming rusted and corroded. Number 4. Tire bumps. The little bumps between the threads on your tire look like a manufacturer's error. However, they actually do have a purpose. These little bumps are used to make the minimum safe tread height of your tire, so you can determine whether or not your tires are safe to drive on. In many places, it is against the law to drive when the bumps are worn down. Also, a vehicle would not pass inspection if the bumps are worn down. Number 5. Metal part on gas pump. If you've ever looked around at the gas pump, you've likely noticed that at the top of the rubber hose there's a metal piece. The reason for this is to prevent destruction due to human error. If a person's pumping gas and forgets to take the nozzle out and they drive off, this metal attachment will keep them from ripping the entire pump out of the ground. The piece of metal is actually a magnet that would come off quite easily if you were to forget that you were pumping gas and drove off. Number 6. Hole at the end of a tape measure. If you've ever used a tape measure, you've likely noticed the small hole at the end. If you're measuring something yourself and you have nobody to hold the tape measure in place, you can bang a nail into the surface that you are measuring through the hole, and the nail will secure the tape measure so you can get an accurate reading without worrying about the tape measure slipping. If you've ever used a tape measure, you likely also noticed the serrated edges. This edge makes it possible to mark the spot that you are starting your measurement. If your hands are too busy taking the measurement to use a pencil to draw the mark, you can scratch a small area. Number 7. Hole in the pot handle. Most people look at a pot and see a hole at the end of the handle and have no idea why it's there. Some people think that it's just for decoration. No, that's not the case. When you stir your food while cooking, you don't want to put the dirty spoon down on the counter. You can put the handle of your spoon into that hole so that the spoon is held up over the pan where it won't make a mess. Number 8. Little arrow next to gas gauge. This is one of the best things you might not have known. This is because it can help you in your everyday life. If you're like most people, you'll likely never notice the little arrow next to the gas gauge in your car. What seems so small and insignificant is actually there to make your life easier. The arrow points to the direction that the gas tank is on. This can be helpful if you're driving a car that you've never driven before and you need to put gas in. Rather than pulling over before you get to the gas station, you can just look at the arrow near the gas gauge. Subscribe for more.